Welcome back, everyone, to Open Line, where you're talking about should deadly force be allowed to defend against property crimes. Right now in Tennessee, you can use deadly force if you fear for your life. But what if you could use it if you were trying to protect your property, if someone stole from you? A lawmaker is proposing a bill that would expand the use of deadly force. There are major concerns about it. We have with us two guests from the NAACP, Gloria Sweetlove, and I think the computer is working better now. So good to see that. She's the president of the NAACP, and Dr. Sekou Franklin, who is also with the NAACP, and a bunch of calls. So I'm just going to get back to the calls here. Let's go to Joe. Hello, Joe. Joe, go right ahead.
Yes, I have a comment.
Okay.
Okay, before we go to this extreme on deadly force, the problem is a few things. First of all, the consequences for the actions. There needs to be more consequences for theft. We're just giving them a slap on the wrist. There were some countries that would cut your hand off for theft. And in those countries, crime was at like 3%. Crime in our country is almost 30%. If you put consequences out there for the actions, it'll slow it down. If you get a speeding ticket going 50 and a 30, and you get a $50 ticket and they raise that up to $500, you're going to see a dramatic slowdown in speeding. And as far as poverty, people that are living poor, I've lived poor, but I was brought up right. I don't believe that it's poverty that's doing the problem. It's the raising of the kid. There's rich people out there doing bad crimes just like poor people. Okay. And I also think that the police community, and I think that we're on track to get better with that with our new chief. I think that that's going to work too, that we need help there too.
Okay. All right. Tougher, stricter penalties was how he started that call. Gloria Sweetlove, your thoughts on what he said there?
I really sort of like what he said because I really do think that you ought to be responsible for your actions. If you loot somebody's business, I think you should be responsible to, if you broke a plate glass window, to replace that, et cetera, et cetera. So I really believe that there ought to be some consequences. But I can never think that using deadly force, killing somebody to protect the package is worth it, is even civil. It just really isn't. And it just opens the door for so many other things. We have enough enforcement policies on the books. We just need to look at what we do and how we do it.
Okay. Dr. Franklin, what do you think about that call?
Well, we already have tough sentencing laws here in Tennessee. We have some of the toughest laws that exist in the country, so much so that we went through a major sentencing reform movement that occurred in the late 1980s, and unfortunately they turned back some of those laws, but you even had a bipartisan criminal justice reform in the legislature, interestingly enough, in the last 5 years that Jay Reedy's bill seems to counter. So we already have about as tough as sentencing laws that and I go back to the point that I'm making is that Jay Reedy's bill is not an anti-crime bill. It's just not. It's a vigilante bill.
Right.
From my perspective.
That is interesting. I wonder if he will couch it as an anti-crime bill. But that's an interesting point. Let's go to John. Hello, John.
Yes, sir.
Go right ahead.
Yes, this is for Mrs. Love and the other gentleman. I think with what she was saying a while ago, Ms. Love, that she's right, that it's going to open up the doors for a lot more people, losing their life. If you just tried to shoot somebody over for stealing something, yes, they need to be held accountable for their own actions. Yes, they do. And the other caller that called in, I think his name was Joe. I agree with him that a lot of this stuff, there's not there ain't a separate penalty needs to be brought up on a lot of these different, things. Giving somebody a $50 fine like he was talking about for going 50 into 30 or whatever. I think once you start raising it up, people's going to start, paying attention, and they're gonna quit doing what they're doing. But yes, you do need to be held accountable. And then of course, it's going to open up more doors for a lot of different things. It's just like the young man, which I'm going by the videos that I've seen. Just like that police officer in the Daniel Hambrick case. I got criticized on Facebook because my opinion is my opinion, and I thought he was trigger happy. That's what I gathered from the videos. Yes, the young man shouldn't have been where he was probably, but, based on the videos, I think the police officer was trigger happy. So, but anyway, that was my call on that.
Okay. That takes us down a whole other road. But okay. All right. Thank you for that call. I think he's kind of reiterating some stuff. I'm just going to go to another call, if that's all right. Let's go to Don on line 1. Hello, Don.
Yes, I just think that this is a bad idea. I think it's going to open up a Pandora's box. It's going to give anybody that has a gun that they can shoot you, and you can be out there rabbit hunting, and accidentally step on somebody's land and you don't know it. And they can literally shoot you and say, okay, yeah, he's stealing that rabbit off my land. Okay, so that's property. So if it's property, hell, anybody that steps in your yard, could be literally a trespass, and you can just go out there with your gun and you can shoot them, and you can make the argument that, this is for the reason why. A dead person cannot explain the reason why they was there. And so that just opens up a whole thing of people getting killed, and when we need to leave this to law enforcement, because they got protocols that they go by when they go on somebody's premises.
Right.
You leave it up to the regular individual that has a gun, they're going to think that they're the police and they're the sheriff and they're the judge and jury. So now when you start doing this, that means somebody's teenager kid can come through your yard and you say, oh, well, yeah, he did this and that, and I can shoot him.
So this opens up all kinds of.
Look like it's going.
Yeah, it opens up all kinds of disturbing possibilities. Now, Jay Reedy, a Republican from Aaron, who is proposing this, said the bill is largely influenced by gun laws in Texas, which are more permissive on the use of deadly force. And you, Dr. Franklin, were saying that there are some other legislatures around the country that are thinking about similar laws. Is that right?
Yeah, Ohio has a deadly. These are some of them are different bills, but it all goes back to protecting property owners, and overshadowing those laws, of course, are the protests and some of the confrontation between armed militia and protesters. So Ohio has a bill 784 called an anti-mob legislation, and Florida has a bill too as well. That the governor has proposed. Again, some of these bills are around, protecting against looting and so forth, but they all basically expand deadly force. And can I add to this equation too? The crazy thing about this bill is that if you're really for pro-law enforcement, it's an anti-law enforcement bill. Because with the bill, I've seen so many times officers searching people's properties in which at first contact people didn't necessarily know what was going on. The split second decision could lead to a confrontation between a private security, between a person and an officer who might be non-uniform, for example. In my hometown, the most devastating police killing in my hometown that occurred when officers went in the home of a black man in his backyard, and he thought it was a robber, a burglar, and they killed him, and those officers were exonerated. And that exact scenario that I just described, that person would have been justifiably correct in killing those officers for coming into their property. Just think about all the scenarios that can emerge in this situation, and I just kind of want to emphasize this point, this general trend, which is often, I think, a misnomer propagated, in certain circles, that we're in an era in which people can get away with anything and people are left the hook. That's not true. We're in an era in which there's surveillance cameras on almost every major corridor in Nashville. We're in an era in which nearly every homeowner has a Ring doorbell, in which people have a cell phone. We're in an area of mass monitoring and mass surveillance, on top of going through a 20-year wave of, really 30-year wave of zero tolerance laws. People, if they want to steal, they're not going to stop stealing because somehow they look up in the universe and see that the state legislature that they never stepped foot in is going to pass a law that is so far remote from them. That's not how people on the street operate.
Right.
There's not one person I know who. Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay, we have to take a break. Several calls. We'll take a break. Be back right after this.